Well, hi there everybody, FarmsimGamer here and welcome to Rustic Acres. Now, if you think this is going to be just another map review or map tour, it's not. But if you do want to go and see a full map tour, then I would recommend Mr. CDP's video, which he released a couple of days ago. What I'm going to do today is a comparison between the original PC version of Rustic Acres and the recent version of the map that was released on the Mod Hub this week. Now firstly, Rustic Acres was originally released by Cazz 64 for PC back in June 2019, and since then it's seen various updates, and I think it's now on its fifth iteration. Now since it was initially created, Cazz has tried on numerous occasions to get it approved for the Mod Hub, and he finally managed to succeed this week, and I'm really pleased about that because it so deserves to be on the Mod Hub, and I know that a lot of console players have been waiting for a long time to see this. However, in order to do so, he has had to make quite a few adjustments to the map. All the original farm buildings were replaced for standard in-game ones. Likewise, the modded animal husbandries and pens were changed to the standard in-game ones. Some of the additional vehicle mods that he had included in the map have been taken out. Now that's mainly a TDK trailer that had increased capacity and an Aquatrans tank that could take additional liquids as well as water. Some of the additional animal types like goats and calves have been taken out, and all of the additional crop types that he normally includes on his maps have also been removed. Now whilst Cazz is absolutely delighted that the map has finally made it onto Mod Hub and is available for console players, there is a little bit of disappointment that he's had to make a number of compromises along the way to get it approved. However, it's still a fantastic map without a doubt, and one that I would certainly recommend. And now that Cazz has managed to get Rustic Acres on the Mod Hub, where possible I know he's going to try and reintroduce some of those elements back into the map in the future. Now what I'm not going to do is a full tour of the map. There's been plenty of map review videos that have been released on YouTube this week. But what I'm going to do is look at some of the differences between the two versions and talk about a few things that might not have been mentioned in some of those other review videos. The other thing that I'm going to touch on briefly is why Cazz created Rustic Acres in the way that he has, and give a bit more insight behind the original concept and why this map might be more than you think. And what I'm also going to do later is touch on how you can put the Rustic back into Rustic Acres by using some of the mods that are available in the in-game Mod Hub. So first up, let's take a very quick look at the PDA. Now the location of everything has not changed. The main farm is still centrally located in the middle of the map. All of the sell points are in exactly the same place. Now some of the style of the buildings might have changed and a little bit of the detail around some of the buildings might have changed, but they're all in the same location. And the structure and the layout of the fields is the same, as you can see, and they are all in fairly regular square and rectangular shapes, albeit varying in size from quite small up to fairly big. Now some people might think that that's a little bit boring, but there is a reason for that, and I'll come on to that a little bit later. So let's have a look at the changes, and the biggest is the farm itself. Now one of the main things about the original Rustic Acres was the rustic nature and old style feel that the farm had. Now sadly, some of that has been lost a little with having to use some of the standard in-game sheds and silos, looking all kind of quite modern. However, Cazz is going to try and make some of the original sheds and the silo and possibly the house from the original version of the map available in the future as separate placeables built into the map so that you can buy them and place them yourself. Now, if you cannot wait for that, and with so many buildings and decorative mods available in the Mod Hub already, it is fairly easy to try and replicate that rustic look and feel, and a little bit later I'll give you some ideas of how you can do that and which mods you might be able to use. As far as the animal husbandries are concerned, in the new version of the map, it's just the standard in-game ones. So the horse stables, the cow shed, the sheep pen and the pig pen. Now they're all situated in exactly the same place as the original ones were. There's a little bit more space around them because we've lost some of the other animals, but they are all conveniently located across the road from the main farm. On the original PC version of the map, we also had ducks that you can see just by the pond here. We had goats that were positioned just behind the sheep, and we also had some calves as well. Now, Cazz is hoping to get the latter put back into the map, but that's obviously subject to Giant's approval. And overall, the original versions of the pens were a lot more open plan. We had these cattle grids that you can see just by the roadside down below, and they were a lot more kind of spacious than the standard in-game versions. Now, something that a few other reviewers might have missed, there are actually 3 separate water points that you can collect water from. One is this lovely water mill that's kind of up on the hill overlooking the fields below. You can also take water out of the pond by the sawmill, and there's also the pond that's down by the animal husbandries themselves. Now, one other thing that I wanted to touch on is that you can probably see that there's kind of two different styles of grass here, and there's actually 4 stages for the growth stages for the grass. So eventually in the 4th stage it will look like the grass here with the little white flowers. In its early stage it looks kind of lower and growing. So it's all mowable and cuttable as long as you own the land. Any grass that you've got around the animal husbandries here or in the field margins and headlands that you own can all be cut, baled, used for hay, silage, etc. There are a few other smaller changes as well. The original barn that was more of a kind of a drive-through version was replaced for this one, but they're both very good, very functional, and kind of do the job that they need to do, so sort of no issue with those, but there was a bit of an update to them just to get the map approved. Now there was a bit of change in the 2 shops as well. The new version has got the kind of class dealership. The original version had a New Holland dealership with a bit more kind of decorative detail out in the forecourt and everything. But again, they're both great, and they both kind of do the job that they need to do. So kind of not too much of a change from that perspective. Then up in the port. There was a little bit of detail that had to be taken out in terms of the crane and some of the decorative buildings, which is a little bit of a shame, but I think it was the only way that Cazz could get the map approved. And then generally around the map there's some other kind of smaller details like the trucks that you can see and some of the decorative elements that are around the buildings that he also had to take out, but they're fairly minor, and if you didn't kind of really know that they were there, you wouldn't be missing them. Now, one feature that I did like on the original map was the shark that patrols the waters along the beach, although I think he's only probably grade 2 on the cello, so needs a bit more practice. Now, I touched on map design a little bit earlier, and the original kind of concept behind this map and the idea that Cazz had, and he very much designed it in a way that would give people flexibility to put their own mark on it and make it their own. So all of the fields had very large grass margins or headlands. Some kind of had big sections that weren't ploughed under. Now this would enable people to shape those fields the way they might want them, so that, and if you wanted to have slightly more quirky shaped fields, add a few trees in around the edges, that sort of thing, then you can very much do that, because those large margins would enable you to create them the way you want to. Or, of course, you could kind of just leave them as they are, as easy helper-friendly fields with big turning circles. Now, there are only 2 traffic splines that were added into the map to reduce traffic between the fields, and you can, of course, turn the traffic off if you want to. And the fields were only separated by dirt roads and trees that could easily be removed or ploughed up. There's no hedges, no collisions or anything else like that at all, and that would enable players to simply merge multiple fields together, albeit with a little bit of effort. So if you want to create much larger fields, then you could certainly do that, or if you wanted to kind of group some of the fields that are around the farm that are a lot smaller, then you'd be easy to do that as well. And with tools such as the lizard tracks and the much larger chisel ploughs that are available now, then that's a fairly simple and quick task. And another thing that Cazz did was add in a number of flat placeable areas that you could use for your own farm builds, or as placeable areas to put kind of factories or other selling points or those sorts of things. A lot of flexibility, very flat and easy to work with, very little landscaping needed apart from perhaps a bit of texture painting, and you'd be able to take places like this and convert them into something like this. So at first glance you might think the map looks fairly straightforward, but that was done on purpose to give players the flexibility to use their imagination and creativity to make the map their own. So that's it for the main differences. Now let's go back to the main farm and see how we can change this into this to give it that rustic feel and make it a little bit more like the original. Okay, so I have cleared the farmyard completely. I've sold off all of the farm buildings. I sold off all of the equipment as well. I decided to keep the farmhouse because I kind of figured that was the best option that was available. I kept the chicken coop as well, and I kept all of the animal husbandries over the road. So what I'm going to do now is just go through some of the mods that I found. Now, I kind of trawled through the mod hub fairly extensively to find things that were kind of rustic in nature but not too old and dilapidated. There were a couple of sort of old sheds, but they just looked a little bit kind of too worse for wear, really. So what I've come up with is about 5 or 6 options that I can use to make the farm look that little bit more rustic. So first up were a couple of items from Alien Jim's No Man's Land placeable pack. Now I had a shed and a workshop that I selected from here. I can't show you them specifically as part of the pack, but we'll select them obviously when we need to place them. Now next up was a straw shed by Camilos0397, which I thought worked well for a couple of the shed positions. Now there are a couple of options for the big shed in the middle of the yard. One was by Ryan Agromods and the other one was by Zed Gaming. So we'll have a look at both of those. Then I also looked at a placeable farm silo by Shaba FS and also a placeable storage silo also by Shaba FS. So first up in sheds is the Alien Jim's old rundown shelter that I'm going to place, and I'm going to put this kind of here where the original workshop used to be. So I'm just going to swing round. You can see kind of by the grass texture where the original one was. So I'm just going to kind of pop this in here. Now this was used as a workshop. I guess if you wanted to, you could kind of just put some tools or something like that just outside. That would be kind of quite nice and convenient. So I'm going to pop that in there. Might need to do a little bit of landscaping just in terms of the texture at the front there, but that's kind of easily done. So that's kind of the first object, and the next one I'll move on to is the straw sheds, which I'm then going to kind of use as most of the vehicle sheds. So next up, also in the shed section, is the straw shed here. Now the first one I'm going to place is kind of just sort of next door to the entrance really. Just need to swing that round, and I'm going to place that, kind of back that up fairly tight to the grass. I'm going to put that first one there, and I'll come back and do kind of some of the landscaping, tidying up and stuff like that. Now I'm also going to use this kind of for the main vehicle shed as well. So again, I just need to sort of swing round, and I'm going to place these kind of in the corner and slightly overlap them as well actually. So I'll just move into here. I'll swing that around. Now thankfully it kind of clips straight, so I'm just going to put that up against the corner there and put that one there, and then I'm going to do a slight overlap here. And you can place as many as you want down here really. I'm probably going to put 3 and then see if that's going to be sufficient, and I might do another one depending on how everything kind of works out. So that's the second thing. Next thing will be the main silo, and then I'll look at the 2 large sheds in the middle. So next up in the silo section is this farm silo placeable by Shaba FS. So we'll look at getting one of these. Now I think probably I'll look at maybe putting the drop-off point kind of on the shed side, and the collection point kind of on the house side. I just want to make sure I have myself, you can kind of see where the original one was placed, I guess probably about there, but obviously it was a lot smaller. So I'm going to shunt this over a little bit closer to the actual shed itself. Hopefully that will probably just about be alright. Now I'll come and kind of tidy up all the textures and everything else in a little while. Right, so let's go on to the 2 kind of main sheds that are going to go in the middle of the yard. Now, as you can see, there's 2 options. There's the large shed here, and there's the medium shed. Now, the one I used when I took the original photograph was kind of the medium shed here. I kind of liked this one. It looked quite dilapidated and everything. So I placed this medium shed, as you would think, is probably slightly smaller than the large shed. So I was going to place 2 of these side by side in the middle of the yard. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of line them up sort of with the middle of the silo really. So somewhere about there. I'm just going to make sure that we've got enough room to get into them. And then I'm going to pop one kind of next door. I'm not going to overlap them, I'm just going to kind of join them in the middle really. Okay. And the last in the silo section is the storage silo as well, which is kind of for seeds, fertilizer, lime, etc. I was going to put this just down the bottom here, kind of on the end, not too close to the fence. You can see it kind of slightly dips down a little bit, and I need to make sure that I can obviously drive through the section as well. So one is kind of for loading, for storage. And this is a storage silo, not a buying silo. So I just want to make sure that I kind of line it up in the middle of the shed so it's nice and even. Make sure I kind of get it angled correctly. So I'm probably going to pop it about there. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of tidying up. Now, workshop-wise, there is this kind of vehicle workshop that was part of the Alien Gym pack. It's reasonably expensive, 24,000. So I could kind of go and place that next to one of the smaller sheds, or if you wanted to, with that kind of first shed that we placed by the main entrance, you could just drop a toolbox or something like that down there to act as your workshop. So kind of entirely up to you, really. I think I would probably just kind of put a toolbox there, just because it's nice and easy and it's not too expensive. But this is another option if you wanted to do that. So that's it for the farm layout, and hopefully you will agree that these selection of buildings are quite a nice option to give it that rustic feel, and certainly kind of a nice alternative to the kind of rather new looking options that Cazz had to include in order to get this approved for the Mod Hub for console. Now, if you're on PC, then you do of course have the benefit of being able to go and download the original version of Rustic Acres, and I will put a link in the description. But if you're on console, then hopefully this has given you a few ideas of some of the kind of buildings and placeables that you can use that are available in the Mod Hub that will make you enable you to kind of give it that rustic feel, a bit like the original. So regardless if you're playing on PC or on console, I hope you will give this map a go. I think it's a fantastic map, and I've had endless hours of fun playing on here. So download it, give it a go, and hopefully you'll also have a lot of fun. Now, if you do, regardless of which version you use, whether it's the original PC version or the Mod Hub version, go onto the Mod Hub and give it a rating, because I know that will mean a lot to Cazz. Now that's it for the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, then give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then please do so. It'd be very much appreciated. So thanks very much for watching. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, take care, and I will catch you on the farm next time. Bye for now.